Hello ladies and gentlemen, Docville here. Welcome to a replay cast of an event that I was actually at on the weekend of the 15th and 16th of September. It was a lot of fun up in Sydney at the UNSW Roundhouse. An event hosted by Oceanic Esports and sponsored by Asrock. We had a lot of fun bringing a particular player down from Korea who we'll see in this game. It is a best of 3 game, just a show match, nothing really on the line apart from a little bit of pride and a little bit of joy of playing some StarCraft in front of, I believe we had like 200 people in the crowd or something like that. But we did have a couple of technical issues which brought about some dismay when it came to watching this particular set between our red Zerg down at the bottom left hand side of Derelict Watcher. Here in game number 1, it is Exile 5 Pig. Now, as I said, we did have some technical issues, so this is why I am recasting these ones, just in case some folks didn't get to see it. And of course, who knows, maybe you just didn't know about the event or something like that and didn't get to see it anyway. But it is a wonderful set between these two players up at the top right hand side, as our blue Terran player came all the way down to Sydney and joined us for some show matches up against a couple of players. It is LG-IM.MVP. Now, MVP did come on down on the Saturday afternoon or something like that. We were going to have dinner with him, but unfortunately he was a little bit tired. But we had some dinner with all the esports folks up in Sydney. Of course, a few people flew in from some of the other states as well. It was really, really cool. And then on the Sunday that weekend, we had our big show matches featuring Pig, Aegis, and also Betrayus was able to fly over from New Zealand. We called him up and said, "Hey man, what are you up to this weekend?" And he said, "Not much. You want to come over and play against MVP? Sure, why not?" It was kind of a weird way that went down, but Betrayus came over from New Zealand and had a couple of games. But here in this particular set, we're going to be looking at Pig versus MVP. Of course, Pig, a local in Sydney and one of the best Zerg players in Australia, possibly the best. Who knows? I'll leave that one up for you guys to decide. But here in game number 1 on Derelict Watcher, we've got MVP starting out in a very economic style, going for the CC first, a very common kind of way that Terran players have been opening up in Terran versus Zerg these days, just as a nice way to cement your economy in a really good position. It's relatively safe as well. Like, some people will still throw down their command center on the high ground just to make sure that everything is nice and safe in case of any possible early pulls or anything like that. But Pig, he's not going to bother with anything to that effect, so we are just going to see this game play out in a normal kind of way with the hatchery already done. We've got a couple of drones already mining down here. Pig's going to have a quick look through his main base, just wants to see what's going on. Where did that SCV go? There it is. Catches the SCV and should be able to deal with that in due time. But yeah, as I was saying, it was a really fun event. I am really happy to have met quite a lot of people that turned up. I did write up a little bit of a blog about my journey and the adventures of coming up to Sydney to meet some of you guys, cast some of these games, and you can catch that on SC2C. It's in the blog section there, or you can have a look on Team Liquid. I also sort of copy pasted it basically onto Team Liquid, and you can have a look in my personal blog thing over there as well if you want to have a look. But yeah, it was a really fun experience. Got to have lunch with MVP and also his coach, Mr. Kang, aka Hira, who had come over as well just to give MVP a little bit of guidance, but I would presume it was also just to have a little bit of fun on a journey across to Australia. We actually made, for any Aussie folks, we actually made him eat some, well, we didn't make it, but we asked MVP to try out some Vegemite, and that was quite a funny little experience. He tried it and sort of wasn't a fan, as many sort of foreigner folks who haven't grown up on Vegemite are like when they first have it. It's a bit of a daunting experience, but it was a fun experience for the rest of us to hang out with one of the best Terran players of Wings of Liberty and also in Heart of the Swarm as well. He's done quite well, especially in WCS EU. So he has still continuing the role of MVP, of being one of those great Terrans, the King of Wings as he was known back in the day. But We can see that here we've got Pig just droning up very hard, 10 drones all the way. He is going to now pick up his extra gases as well, just to make sure that he is ready to roll with that, with the sort of opening into mid-game tech. What we'll probably see coming out of Pig is just all sorts of, you know, namely very standard stuff. You basically only see one style coming out of Zergs in ZvT these days. It's just that sort of Lingbane Muta kind of composition leading into Infestors and Ultras in the late game once you can get there, but you do need at least a 4-base economy to get that rolling before you can properly start to produce those big boys with their gas, such as the Ultras and also those Infestors as well. It costs quite a lot to get that rolling. But we'll see if Pig can go down that direction. MVP, as we saw, has already got his third orbital command up and running. We got double E bays down at the back that are starting to get their upgrades going in a second. So what we're going to see here from MVP is also very stock standard Terran play. A couple of Hellions opening us up after the fast expansion, then leading into what is most likely a Biomine Medevac style. Now this kind of style is going to possibly change very soon. I'm sure a lot of people have seen the possible changes that Blizzard have been thinking about. Of course, decreasing the splash radius of Widow Mines, and then, you know, looking at buffing tanks a little bit, giving the mech armies a little bit of a buff up, which could be quite interesting. Pig just barely escaping with one of his queens here, but he does have he now has 3 at the front, all nice and good to have a couple of queens to defend. But now, the reason he's brought the 3 out here and actually removed 1 from the natural hatchery is because his production doesn't necessarily need that extra kick just at the moment. He is getting another hatchery inside the main base as well, but, you know, it's not too harmful to have the injects coming down a little bit later here. As we can see, he just went and threw that one down, but it's a little bit later, but it's always better to be protected against these Hellions. When there's sort of 6 or more, it does get a little bit scary sometimes because, you know, they can run their way in and get some serious damage done. But back at home, MVP, his economy, now kicking up into high gear. We've got 5 factories in production and or already built, along with a factory on the way. The starport, where is the starport? Do we have oh, there it is. Sorry, it was just hiding. We do have a starport that is just about to finish up as well. Going to be adding in some medevacs, and we can assume that you know, the normal sort of timing for Terrans to look to start to push out after this kind of play is around about the 11-minute mark. What they want to try and do is come across and stop the Zerg from picking up their 4th base. So we'll see if Pig will be prepared for this. Normally by that time, the Zerg player will have their the bailing speed all done and ready to roll. They'll have their macro hatches up and running, and they should have really good production. This is all nicely timed by Pig. It's even got the Overlord speed here to help out with a little bit of scouting, but not only that, it also helps with keeping your overseers in the same sort of area as your very fast and very mobile units like these Lings and the Mutas as well. So this is a change that obviously only just recently went through, really buffing up the Overseer move speed when you do have Pneumatized Carapace active, because it was getting very hard for Zerg players to keep their Overseers in the battle when they've got things like their Mutas, the Lings that are extremely fast, especially on creep, and, you know, the Overseers get left behind, which means that mines do not go detected. Well, they go undetected, I should say, and it becomes a really sort of annoying thing to try and deal with. But here is that move out, sort of the 11:30 mark is when this one kind of starts. Normally, by that time, you've got your 1-1, you've got your stim, your combat shields is all done as well, and MVP has all of that. The 1-1 on the armor and the weapons all done and dusted. 2-2 on the way, a couple of Hellions are here to help defend as well. Now, as we said, this kind of push mainly is designed at getting some damage on the 4th hatchery to try and stop it, or to get as much creep spread damage as done as possible. But as you can see, Pig well prepared for that, flanking with some of the Lings, very nicely done, and is able to sweep through and clean up quite a lot of that. But MVP, will he be able to escape? It looks like one of the medevacs getting very low. Widow Mines burrowing, a few Marines coming across to help defend as well. There are those Widow Mines. Will they be able to be stopped? It looks like the answer is no, getting a couple of really good shots off. And MVP will be safe for now, but he did lose quite a few units. So we've currently got Pig sitting in a pretty decent spot right now. His 4th has gone relatively unmolested here. He should be able to bring in that extra little bit of gas. We've got his drone count just about to peak up to 74, 75 very soon. And then that means he'll have a beautiful economy for this mid game here, where the Terran starts to really rally out all of these units. The Terran Terror Train, as I have sort of come to call it, consisting of these Marines. When they get their 2-2, which will happen in a second, MVP will probably start to look for another move out very quickly, because he'll, as we said, he wants to try and stifle the Zerg economy a little bit, and ways he can do that, of course, do consist of drops. We've got one drop heading off down the southern side of the map. Another one is going to go towards the top side and try and proceed past the net of overlords that are around. It looks like Pig is going to block off that base for the moment, but you know, it gets very hard to try and deal that damage because the Zerg player has already got a lot of mutas out. Pig with a total of 18 mutas out on the map at the moment, so he has really good map detection just now to sort of keep an eye on what's going on. Looks like MVP is going to have to snipe down a couple of overlords here to make sure that he can get through next time, but will he be able to at all because the mutas are now on the way. Banelings rolling across. Unfortunately, these aren't the campaign Banelings that can jump up in the air, which is really crazy. But mutas now sweeping through, taking down a turret, number 1, number 2. Then this base is kind of exposed, not completely exposed, but relatively exposed here. So Pig has forced his opponent into a situation where MVP needs to move out here. He needs to be able to get some damage done. Otherwise, Pig is going to start to move into his hive tech, where things start to become quite a lot more dicey for the Terran player. If they can't get this damage done, if they can't restrict the Zerg to sort of just the 3 to 4 bases, then it can really snowball into trouble here. But the Widowmine's doing an excellent job. MVP spacing out his Marines quite nicely. 2-2 is done for these guys. The Widowmine, the Mutalisks have +1 on their attack. As you can see, the double drop is now headed in. Marines getting a huge amount of damage done. That is a lot of work for kills here. Also inside domain, they have restricted the mining on Pig just down to basically 2 bases. And as you can see, the Marines are still even going to get a couple of kills before they get blasted apart by those Banelings. But that is not it. MVP is not done. He even has a mule here. I'm not even sure why that is there. But there is a mule, and a couple of Widowmines have been set up here in the middle of the map. And we'll see. There could be a very dangerous Widowmine explosion here. 1, 2, 3, 4. And MVP cruises through, destroying a huge batch of Mutalisks there. Pig brought down to just a total of 6. 10 more are on their way out. MVP says, alright, it's time to get out of here. That is far too many Banelings. But he is reinforcing. The Terran Terror Train is on the way. The Marines, the Mines, the Medevacs are all on their way through. Pig has a couple of links set up for some interception maneuvers here, but it looks like they will get taken down very quickly. MVP, is this his game number 1 in the bag? We'll find out very soon. Pig in a lot of trouble as those mutas went down. That really restricts his air control, really restricts his ability to snipe down mines as well. But here we go. Does he have enough? 155 supply to 193. MVP is looking extremely strong here. Moving through, charging forward with those Marines out, going to try and spread as best as possible. It looks as if the Banes will get a huge amount of hits, but there are still far too many Marines. A huge group of Marines is now just pushing through. There is just not enough here for Pig to be able to save this one. Widowmine burrows is a little bit of a backdrop, a sort of a fallback position, I should say. And the Marines stimming through, taking out the Banes before they can even complete. Widowmines will burrow. It looks like some of the Banes did get a couple of good hits here, but unfortunately, that is not going to be enough for Pig. As the Zevo Chambers are in trouble, the Spire is at the front as well. Not to mention the simple fact that the drones are in line for the slaughterhouse right now. And we see the blue conga line of units now streaming across the map. All of those Marines, all of those extra mines now on their way here for MVP. Some of his medevacs are a little bit damaged, but when you're this far ahead at this stage, it is all well and good here for our Terran player MVP. Actually loses a bunch of those Marines, but unfortunately for Pig, the Widowmines are able to get some more damage done, and the rally is now complete. More Marines, more mines, and a GG from Pig. So game number 1 goes the way of LG-IM.MVP. Traveller across to Australia has been able to take out the first game here with his opponent, the local from Sydney, Pig. And there you go, I've left the game, you can tell. But we'll go into game number 2 in just a moment and see if Pig can launch a fight back against the King of Wings.